It really helps me to know that my issues aren't like new issues to humanity. That people have had anxiety about things and been depressed about things for thousands of years. And though I'm not worried about, am I going to get killed by the guy from the neighboring village with a sword? And I'm not really worried about, is my family going to have enough sheep to trade for grain to make bread to survive? I am worried about things like, do people like me and am I good enough? This is God's weapons for dealing with your mental health. And today I'm going to be talking about stillness, which would be the worst weapon to use in a street fight. My name is Dan Potoczak, and like a lot of you, I deal with anxiety and depression in turns. For most of my adult life, one of these two things has been something major that I've been struggling against, and this informs a lot about how I act and what I do on a daily basis, my interactions with other people, all of that. My mind is always running. So when it's crunch time, when something needs to happen, when we need to get something figured out, or when there's an emergency, I'm moving, I'm running around, I'm making it happen. But when it's not crunch time, when there's nothing urgent happening, my mind is still running. It was in a conversation a couple years ago with my now wife that she informed me that is called having anxiety. And every time after I go through one of these moments of being told to calm down or realizing that I need to take a break or that I need to just slow down for a second, at every one of these moments, I have to learn a hard lesson. And that lesson is that I can't fix every possible problem, and I can't be prepared for every danger that could happen. I can't be ready for every situation, even though I desperately want to be. But every time when I reach the end of myself, every time that happens, when I run out of gas or when I have nothing left, I'm forced to realize that I can't do it alone. I'm forced to be still in those moments because there's nothing left. Like a car that is out of gas won't move. It can't. And it's in those moments when I am forced to be still like that car that I realize that God is in the stillness. That He was there the whole time waiting for me, probably watching and thinking, He doesn't know that it's going to be okay, but it is. It's in those moments of stillness that I actually feel closest to God. And I really wish it wasn't that way. I wish I could just realize that God is there for me and that I don't have to handle everything. I wish I could get to that realization without the process of running out of gas. And I'm working on that, but that is easier said than done. But it's true that not only is it okay to stop and rest, to be quiet for a minute, to take a breath for a minute, but actually we need that. It's not just okay, it's necessary. The good news for me is that I get to learn this over and over as I read Scripture, because it's there over and over a bunch of times. First of all, God Himself rested, right? In the very beginning of everything, God makes the heavens, the earth, all the things in the earth. He makes people. He says, this is very good. And then He rests. And that's God. Like, if He's resting, maybe that's something I should be doing too, because he literally can handle everything, and I know I sure can't. It can be a little bit hard to relate directly to God, though, because He's perfect and infinite, and I am the opposite of those. So one of the things I like to look at is the Israelites in the Old Testament, because the problems that they have as a people group are a lot of the same problems that I have as a person. So the Israelites, to give a little backstory, have been in slavery in Egypt for hundreds of years at this point, generations and generations. So after they've been enslaved for so long, God raises up a leader, Moses, to go talk to Pharaoh. And the backstory there is wild. There's movies, there's books about it. Go read it in the Bible. It's an awesome story, and it is wild. 10 plagues, let my people go. Pharaoh eventually says, okay, I will let the Israelites out of slavery. Just get them out of here because I'm tired of dealing with God's wrath. And I'm tired of having these problems. So the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, who believed himself to be a god, says, okay, you guys can leave. My whole slave labor giant group of people, get out. So they do. and Moses is their leader. And as they're leaving, they're approaching the Red Sea, and Pharaoh actually changes his mind. He goes, you know what? I don't think I want to give up these people that are my slaves, that I see as my property, this nation. And the Israelites see Pharaoh's army, this military, coming after them to go get them back immediately after they've left. So if you're like me, and you know what it's like to see problems coming and then to be in a moment of panic, you're going to relate to the Israelites in this section of the book of Exodus. In Exodus 14:10 and following, as Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Here, the Israelites are saying to Moses the same thing that my anxieties say to me. Wouldn't it have been better to just stay in that bad situation? Wouldn't it have been better to just let it lie and just be worried and be in pain and discontent? Why are we actually going through the difficult part of the healing process? Why are we trying to escape our issues with God's help? Wouldn't it be more comfortable to just stay in the pain that we know? They very dramatically say, "Were there no graves in Egypt that you bring us out here to die?" And Moses responds, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." And in this moment, what's about to happen is God is about to give Moses the instructions for parting the Red Sea. God is performing a miracle with his chosen leader of the Israelites, and Moses has told them, God says, just be still, like for a minute, and he's got this. And what happens is God parts the Red Sea, they walk across on dry land, and then when the Egyptians are coming through, when the scary military force of the Egyptians is coming to get the frail, enslaved for the past 400 years Israelites, the sea collapses around them. God literally fights for the Israelites here. So in this section, when Moses says to the Israelites, "The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still," when he says that to them, and I imagine him saying it to me, like I know that I will never understand what it feels like to be a slave. I know that I will never know what it feels like to be chased down by a foreign military trying to come get me, to bring me back into servitude. I don't know what that's like, but I do know what it's like to feel like I'm fighting a battle inside that I can't win. That I know what it feels like to experience zero hope. I know what it feels like to see danger on the horizon, even if it's just inside of me, and feel like maybe it would just be better to give in. So when Moses says that to the Israelites, I feel like he's saying it to me, and it's very hard. But what I've experienced, the more and more that I follow that advice, as difficult as it is that it's true, right? That the Lord will fight this battle, and I need only to be still. You see, I've learned about this my whole life. Jesus and the Garden of Gethsemane, and retreating from the mountain to go find quiet places. When there's a storm and he's on the lake and he's on a boat with his disciples and they're freaking out, and he says, "Hey, calm down. I got this." And then he literally goes and tells the storm to stop. I've learned about this my whole life, and it is still so hard to remember in those moments of fear, those moments of anxiety, the moments when I'm at my lowest and all I want to do is be distracted and escape. It is so difficult to remember these lessons that I've learned. Do you know why stillness is so hard in those moments? It's because it requires you and me to give up control. And at the core of each of us, that's what we want. We want control over our circumstances, over our feelings, over our situations and relationships. And stillness requires us to stop trying to be in control. There's an encouragement given in the book of Psalms. The psalmist here is writing about things that are going wrong and things that are going right, talking about the power of God. Nations are falling and new kingdoms are being risen up. God is tearing things apart and rebuilding them. And the psalmist is just talking about the nature of God here and his power. This is in Psalm 46. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The reason that stillness is so worth it is exactly that. It's that in those moments of stillness, that's when we can most clearly know who God is. At least that's, for me, someone whose mind always wants to be running, someone like me whose fear is constantly chasing them, someone like me whose dark depressive cloud is always around the next corner. It's in those moments of stillness that I experience the most intimacy with God, because I'm at my most vulnerable. My walls are down. And if I'm being honest, I've given up the pretense that I'm not weak. There's a big relationship between stillness or rest and reliance, because being still is admitting that you can't handle everything. It's admitting that you can't just keep going forever, that you have a finite amount of energy and that you are finite, right? I'm still working on this like right now, and it's hard, but it is a discipline worth practicing. It is a habit worth getting into. It is something worth trying and trusting, right? God is there. He's always waiting. He always knows what I'm going through and cares about me. And doing the thing that your anxiety tells you not to do, which is just be still, that's when I feel the most safe. When I rest and my heart is reminded to rely on my Father, that's when I'm most aware of who God is and who I am to him. It's hard, but it's worth it. If you've enjoyed this, you can hit the like and subscribe buttons below, and you can get more of these conversations that way. There's a link in the description for our website where you can find a list of mental health resources. Have a great one, guys.